Settle gently into your bed, my friend. Feel the weight of the blankets, the softness of the pillow, and the breath rising and falling in your chest. Tonight we step into a new century, one that feels quieter, softer, as though London is exhaling after storms. No one believed it could survive. The Middle Ages are growing old now. The great medieval world, with its guilds, its monks, its markets, its stone walls and wooden houses, is beginning to change in ways no one yet understands. It is the year 1400. London has walked out of famine, out of plague, out of rebellion. Its people have endured everything. A century can throw at them, and now the city stands on the threshold of transformation. But for the moment, everything feels calm. The Thames glimmers under pale light. The narrow lanes smell of warm bread. Merchants unload wool, wine, spices, timber, the lifeblood of a reborn economy. Children laugh in alleyways again. Craftsmen hammer steadily in their workshops. Guilds grow more influential. And culture begins to bloom in songs, stories, and manuscripts copied by candlelight. London is alive, but it is also waiting for changes just over the horizon, changes of kings, dynasties, fortunes, and loyalties. Waiting for a century that will bring renewed trade, increased literacy, new political storms, and a civil war that will rattle England to its core. For now, let the night draw in around you. Let London open like a quiet tapestry. This is the story of the waning Middle Ages, a century of growth, ambition, turmoil, and the slow fading of the medieval world. A century that begins in gentle recovery and ends at the doorstep of the Renaissance. A century where London will rise, not through conquest or war, but through trade, skill, and resilience. And where, in the middle of all this progress, England will fall into the Wars of the Roses, a conflict of roses, crowns, and divided loyalties, a storm that London will not escape. But that is for later. For now, we begin slowly, softly, with a city rediscovering life. Take another breath. Let your body relax. Let the century unfold around you. London is ready, and so are you. Chapter 1. London in 1400, a city between eras. Settle a little deeper into your bed, my friend. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the sound of your breathing soften. Tonight we stand at the doorway of a new century, looking at a London that feels both familiar and strangely transformed. It is the year 1400. The Middle Ages are beginning to fade, though no one living then could see it clearly. This world of guilds, monks, cloisters, stone walls, timber houses, and narrow lanes stands quietly at the edge of something new. A fresh dawn lies ahead, but for now the last light of medieval London glows with calm dignity. Come with me. Let us walk into this world together. a city breathing after a century of turmoil. The previous century had been harsh. Plague swept through the streets, famine bent the city to its knees, rebellions shook its walls, and kings had risen and fallen with painful regularity. But London survived. It always does. By 1400, the city no longer carries the panic of those storms. Instead, it carries the memory of survival, a hum of resilience, a quiet awareness that life is fragile, precious, and worth rebuilding with care. Walk through the early morning streets, and you can feel it in the air. Not the frantic energy of a booming city, nor the heavy grief of the plague years, but a kind of peaceful determination. London is awake, watchful, and ready. The first light over the Thames. Picture the Thames at dawn in the year 1400. The sky is pale rose and silver, the kind that sits gently on the river like soft cloth. Boats bob at their moorings. A few watermen begin their work, dipping long oars into the slow current. Timber cranes along the wharves creak softly as workers prepare for the day. The river is not yet the roaring highway of the 1500s. It is calmer, quieter, almost meditative, but it is still the heart of London, carrying ships from Flanders, France, the Baltic, and the warm Mediterranean. Wine barrels, wool sacks, furs, glass, spices, and salt fill the docks with familiar scents. The Thames in 1400 is like a long breath taken after a difficult century, steadying itself for what comes next. The streets of a maturing city. Step off the river road and into the curling lattice of medieval streets. The houses are closer together than modern eyes might expect. Upper floors lean inward, forming a patchwork of shadowed passages. Timber frames darkened by age hold wattle and daub walls that glow warm in the first light. You hear boots on cobblestones, dogs barking lazily, a baker lifting shutters, a fishmonger humming to himself as he arranges his stall. The smell of baking bread rises from small ovens tucked behind houses. Children hurry toward chores or apprenticeships. Women carry water jugs or bundles of fabric. Church bells begin to ring, soft at first, then fuller as the city wakes. London in 1400 is not grand. It is not the polished city you know today, but it holds a kind of charm that only old cities possess. Every lane feels like a story. Every crooked building has seen more than any human lifetime could contain. A city balanced between ages. London in 1400 stands at a delicate point between old and new. It is still deeply medieval. Guilds control trades and crafts. Churches shape daily rhythms. Timber and stone define the skyline. Narrow lanes follow patterns laid centuries earlier. People dress in wool, linen, and fur, and time is kept by bells, not by clocks. But something is shifting. A new class of skilled merchants and craftsmen is rising, shaping the city with ambition. Education is spreading. Literacy slowly grows, fueled by clerks, lawyers, and scholars. Stories travel farther and faster thanks to trade networks. New ideas from Europe drift into London on ships from Italy and France. The city feels older and younger at the same time, like an elder whose eyes suddenly shine with the curiosity of youth. The guilds hold the center. Guilds remain the backbone of London life. Carpenters, fishmongers, weavers, goldsmiths, bakers, coopers, grocers, tanners, dyers, chandlers. Each group has its hall, its rules, its pride. These guilds shape everything: prices, training, quality, tradition, charity, festivals, the very identity of the city. Guilds create a sense of belonging. A fisherman in Billingsgate belongs not just to his family, but to a brotherhood that spans generations. A cooper shaping wooden barrels in a small workshop knows he is part of a craft older than memory. Guild halls glow with candlelight in the evenings as members discuss work, charity, apprenticeships, and sometimes politics. The guilds are not merely organizations. They are the veins and arteries through which London's daily life flows. The shadow of kings. In 1400, England is ruled by a new king. Henry IV now sits on the throne after taking the crown from Richard II. The transition was tense, uncertain, and deeply unsettling. Kings do not usually lose their crowns peacefully. London watched these events with sharp attention. The city is politically astute. It knows that royal change often brings new taxes, new conflicts, new expectations. For now, the city stays quiet, observant, and cautious. It has learned from the previous century that stability can shift very quickly. A city ready to grow again. Despite uncertainty at court, London's spirit in 1400 is hopeful. Trade is increasing. Prices are stabilizing. Children born after the plague know only life, not loss. Workshops are busy again. Churches are active. Poets and clerks fill taverns with animated conversation. Learning spreads. Music fills feast halls. Stories travel from traveler to traveler. London does not yet know that great storms are waiting in the future. It cannot foresee the wars of the roses, nor the turmoil that will shake noble houses and cities alike. For now, it stands at the edge of a new chapter with quiet confidence. The air feels lighter. The sun feels warmer. The future, though uncertain, feels full of promise. A soft ending to the first step. As Chapter 1 closes, imagine the city settling into evening. Candles glow behind shuttered windows. Street vendors pack their baskets. Merchants close their ledgers. Church bells ring softly over the rooftops. The Thames darkens with the colors of twilight. London in 1400 is a city in transition. Its medieval heart still beats strong, but its future is already whispering from just beyond the horizon. Rest now, traveler. The century has only just begun, and London has many stories left to tell. Chapter 2: Daily Life in Late Medieval London. Let your breath fall into an easy rhythm, my friend. Tonight we wander through the daily world of late medieval London, a place that feels at once ancient and strangely familiar. close your eyes if you like. Imagine the soft, cool air of a city waking beneath the first light of morning. It is somewhere around the year 1420. London has begun to settle into a calmer century, not peaceful in every corner, but steadier, more predictable, and warmer than the stormy days of the previous age. Walk with me now into its everyday life. The dawn that belongs to workers. Before the sun rises fully over the Thames, London is already awake. A baker kneads dough in the dim glow of his oven. His apprentice stumbles sleepily beside him, dusted in flour from head to toe. The first loaves of the day always carry a sense of comfort. They are warm, round, and slightly sweet, with a smell that softens the hardest mood. Watermen prepare their boats, tying ropes, checking oars, talking in low voices about the tide. The river is often the first worker of the day. It never truly sleeps. Carts rumble into the city through the gates. Farmers from nearby villages arrive with baskets of eggs, greens, onions, and butter, wrapped carefully in cloth. A few bring geese or chickens tied with simple twine, the birds clucking nervously as they enter the noise of the capital. The city starts its day with gentle motion, like a house stretching after a deep sleep. The sounds of a living city. By late morning, London has come alive. Listen closely. You can hear the steady rhythm of a blacksmith hammering iron in Smithfield. The cheerful calls of merchants selling fruit at Cheapside. The wooden clatter of shutters opening. The laughter of children chasing each other between doorways. The chanting of monks drifting from a nearby priory. The distant calls of watermen advertising fares on the river. There is a harmony to it. Not loud, not frantic, but textured and warm, like a woven tapestry of sounds that tells you exactly where you are. London in the early 1400s is a place where everything has its music. The markets crackle with energy. The guild halls murmur with business. The taverns hum with stories and gossip. Even the church bells seem to ring with a new clarity. Life, once shaken by plague and unrest, has returned with careful confidence. Inside a medieval home. Let us step inside a modest London house. The floor is made of swept earth covered with clean rushes. The walls are timber and plaster, warmed by the smell of wool cloaks hanging from pegs. A small fire burns beneath an iron pot that simmers slowly throughout the day. Vegetable broth, barley, sometimes a pinch of herbs if the family is lucky. A mother braids her daughter's hair. A father sharpens a small tool for work. Children help grind grain, feed chickens in the courtyard, or fetch water from the nearest pump. These households are not rich, but they are not hopeless either. They carry a sense of humble dignity. Families work hard, save carefully, and place their hope in guilds, apprenticeships, and the steady rhythm of community. Wealthier homes are different. They have polished wooden floors, imported fabrics, books locked in carved chests, and meals flavored with spices from faraway lands. But even there, the foundation is the same. Family, craft, faith, trade, a sense of place. Every home in London pulses with life. Guild Apprentice. A large part of London life revolves around apprenticeships. Imagine a boy of 13 carrying tools behind his master through the busy streets. He is learning a trade that will define his entire adult life. It could be weaving, metalwork, carpentry, brewing, dyeing, or any one of the dozens of crafts regulated by guilds. He works long hours, eats with the master's family, sleeps in a loft, and learns discipline, patience, and skill. His reward is not immediate, but if he succeeds, he will one day become a freeman of the city, able to open his own shop. He will gain a position in the guild, respect from neighbors, and the ability to support a family. For many young Londoners, this path is the beating heart of their future, and it is one of the strongest forces binding the city together. The market as a living organism. Cheapside and the surrounding market streets are the soul of London commerce. Picture a long street overflowing with color and life. Stalls jammed so closely that only a narrow path allows people to pass. Fruits stacked in pyramids. Cloth in rich shades of red and blue. Leather shoes hanging from beams. Ribbons swaying in the wind. Herbs tied in fragrant bundles. Fish laid on cool stones with sprigs of dill. The market smells of everything at once: earth, river, smoke, wool, apples, onions, tallow candles, early morning rain. People bargain, people shout, people laugh, and sometimes people argue with dramatic enthusiasm. But this is how London breathes. The market is not simply a place to buy things. It is where news travels, relationships form, alliances are made, and the pulse of the city can be felt with every step. The church in daily rhythm. Late medieval Londoners live closely with their faith. Church bells guide the day. Morning prayers begin early. Midday bells call for pause. Evening bells ring softly across the rooftops as candles begin to glow. Churches are not just spiritual places. They are meeting halls, schools, archives, and centers of charity. Priests mediate disputes. Monks copy manuscripts. Nuns offer healing and kindness to the poor. Faith in this century is not distant or abstract. It is woven into daily life like thread in a cloak. Evening in medieval London. As the sun sinks, London softens. Workshops close. Market stalls fold away. The river glows gold and silver. Families gather for supper. Taverns fill with tired workers and warm laughter. Torches and lanterns glow in the streets. City gates are shut for the night. A peaceful hush settles over the lanes. Life may be hard, but it is full. It is rhythmic. It is shared in community. It is stronger because of the storms survived. Ending the chapter. As you rest now, imagine London slowly closing its eyes with you. A city ready for change. A city shaped by its people. A city about to step into the age of kings and battles, triumphs and betrayals, victories and shadows that will echo through every street. But for now, let the quiet of medieval night settle in your mind. London sleeps under a sky of stars, and you may sleep with it. Chapter 3: Merchants, Markets, and a Growing Economy. Settle in a little deeper, my friend. Feel the steady rise and fall of your breath. In this chapter, we walk into the heart of London's prosperity during the 15th century, a time when trade reshaped not only the city's streets and markets, but the dreams of the people who lived there. The storms of the previous generations have passed. London stands stronger. The city's spirit is turning toward commerce, opportunity, and a sense that the world beyond the Thames might hold treasures worth chasing. Let us wander gently into this world of merchants, ships, and growing wealth. The Thames as London's lifeline. If you stand on London Bridge around the year 1430, the view before you is alive with motion. Boats glide across the surface like patient insects on a pond. Their sails catch morning light in gold and silver hues. Watermen shout greetings as they ferry passengers from one bank to another. Porters unload cargo from great ships anchored near the wharves. The river smells of salt, wood, fish, smoke, and faraway lands. It is a living highway connecting London to the North Sea, the English Channel, and the world beyond. Wool ships from East Anglia arrive with bales stacked like soft brown hills. Merchant vessels from Bordeaux dock with barrels of red wine. Cogs from the Baltic bring timber, fish, and resin. Italian traders arrive with silk threads and fragile glass. And from the Low Countries come fine cloth, tapestries, and ideas. The Thames is London's heart, beating steadily, tirelessly, carrying the lifeblood of trade into the city. The rise of the merchant class. In this century, a new group quietly reshapes society. Not nobles, not clergy, but merchants. These are men and women who understand numbers, negotiation, opportunity, and risk. They wear practical wool cloaks, not embroidered velvet. They live in spacious houses above their shops, not in castles. But their influence begins to stretch far beyond their front doors. A successful merchant family may own warehouses along the river, a fleet of small vessels, or partnerships in trading companies that reach from London to Bruges or Lübeck. Their wealth flows not from land, as with the nobility, but from movement. Movement of goods, movement of ships, movement of ideas. Merchant life is not easy, but it is full of possibility. Children in these families grow up counting coins, watching their parents negotiate, learning the languages of trade long before they travel anywhere. The 15th century belongs to them as much as to kings. Cheapside, the beating heart of commerce. Now walk with me into Cheapside, London's Grand Market Street. Here the energy feels almost electric. Shops and stalls line the road in a colorful parade. Bright fabrics flutter like banners. Clay pots sit in neat rows. Bundles of herbs hang above stalls. filling the air with rosemary, mint, and thyme. Fresh bread cools on wooden boards. Jewelry glimmers in window boxes under the watchful eyes of goldsmiths. The street hums with voices. Deep male laughter from taverns. Sharp calls of traders announcing prices. Children weaving between adults. Apprentices hurrying with baskets. Travelers asking for directions in accents from across Europe. Cheapside is not just a place to buy goods. It is a gathering place, a crossroads of culture, and the center of London's heartbeat. To walk here is to feel the city breathe. The guilds shape economic life. Behind the scenes, the guilds maintain order. Each trade has its rules, its traditions, its apprenticeships. Everything must meet a standard. Bread must be the proper weight. Ale must be brewed cleanly. Cloth must be measured honestly. Shoes must be properly stitched. Metalwork must be tested for purity. Guild halls stand like anchors in the urban landscape, solid, respected, warm with candlelight during evening meetings. Guild members debate prices, vote on new apprentices, assist injured workers, donate to the poor, and organize processions during feast days. The guilds act as schools, governments, and families all at once. They are the fabric that holds the city together. In a world of growing trade, they also safeguard quality and fairness, ensuring that London's reputation travels well across distant ports. London as an international hub. London in the 15th century is more connected to the world than ever before. Foreign merchants stroll through the markets, their accents mixing with English voices. German traders from the Hanseatic League maintain a strong presence at the steel yard near the river. Italian bankers and cloth merchants introduce new business methods that fascinate Londoners. French traders are both rivals and partners, depending on the mood of kings. Maps change, routes expand, and with each passing decade, London grows more outward-looking. Travelers bring not only goods, but stories, innovations, tastes, and customs that slip quietly into London life. A new kind of city is forming, shaped by trade rather than war. Wealth and inequality. As trade grows, so does wealth. Some merchant families rise quickly, becoming as influential as old noble houses. They buy fine clothing, commission art, donate to churches, and educate their children. But the economic rise is not equal. Many Londoners still struggle. Laborers work long days for modest wages. Servants serve without the promise of upward mobility. Small craftsmen risk losing business to larger guild masters. Yet even these realities carry a sense of stability. Unlike the previous century, life feels less precarious. Food supply is steadier. Employment is more predictable. Opportunities, though uneven, are growing. The city is imperfect, but alive. The evening calm. After a day of trade, when the sun begins to lower, London softens. Merchants close shutters. Markets settle into a hush. The river glows with warm light. Taverns fill with tired workers seeking ale, a meal, and a moment of shared laughter. By nightfall, the city moves slowly. Lanterns flicker in doorways. Church bells sound softly across rooftops. Homes gather around hearth fires. The day has been long. Goods have changed hands. Coins have passed from palm to palm. Dreams of ambition have grown a little brighter. London rests, but it does not sleep entirely. Somewhere, a scribe finishes a ledger. A sailor ties the last knot. A baker begins preparing dough for dawn. Commerce never fully stops. It only pauses like the tide before rising again. Ending the chapter. As you rest now, imagine the city settling into quiet harmony. A world built on craft, trade, and careful balance. A world preparing for both triumph and turmoil in the years ahead. London in this century is strong, vibrant, hopeful, and unaware that political storms are gathering just beyond the horizon. Sleep gently, traveler. The story continues soon, and the next chapter waits for you. Chapter 4: Guild Power and Urban Identity. Settle your breath, my friend. Feel the calm at the edges of your mind. Tonight we wander deeper into the London of the 15th century, a city shaped not by kings or knights, but by something quieter and far more enduring, by the guilds, by the craftsmen, by the people who built the city's daily life with their hands, their tools, their discipline, and their pride. Let us step softly into this world of work, tradition, and rising civic identity. The guilds as the city's backbone. Imagine London from above in the year 1440. You would see the river winding like a silver ribbon, the bridge crowded with shops, the great cathedral rising proudly, and around them a dense network of lanes, markets, and homes. Beneath it all lies a system that keeps the entire city functioning. The guilds. Every trade has one, every craft has rules. Every worker, apprentice, and master belongs to an organized community that binds them to the city as tightly as family. There are guilds of fishmongers, bakers, coopers, weavers, goldsmiths, tanners, brewers, grocers, carpenters, mercers, butchers, and dozens more. Some are modest and humble, while others shine with wealth and influence. To be part of a guild is to belong to something larger than oneself. A walk through guild halls. Let us walk together through a quiet London evening. The sun has just set, and candles are being lit in the grand guild halls. These buildings stand proudly along important streets, their timber beams polished, their doors carved with symbols of their craft. Inside, the rooms glow with warm light. Benches are arranged neatly. Mugs of ale sit on wooden tables. Ledgers are open with neat handwriting marking dues, agreements, and decisions. The masters sit at the front. Journeymen find places in the middle. Apprentices stand near the walls, eager, curious, and perhaps a little nervous. This is a world of learning, a world of discipline, a world where reputation matters. The guilds maintain quality. They maintain fairness. They maintain order. They are the quiet government of everyday life. The apprentice's path? Imagine a young apprentice named Thomas. He rises before dawn, sweeps the workshop floor, gathers tools, checks materials, and prepares for a full day of work. He watches closely as his master shows him how to shape leather, or carve wood, or hammer metal, or weigh spices with careful precision. Each movement is deliberate, each task is a lesson. There is pride in this path. The apprentice will spend years learning his craft, and only when his master believes he is ready will he earn his place as a journeyman. He will travel. He will work for new masters. He will refine his skills. Finally, years later, he may submit a masterpiece to the guild, a flawless example of his craft. If accepted, he will become a full guild member, a freeman of the city, with the right to open his own shop and train apprentices of his own. This journey shapes London's identity more than any royal decree. Guild festivals and pageantry. Life in 15th century London is not all work. Guilds also celebrate. On festival days, the streets bloom with color. Guild members march proudly in clothing dyed in their traditional colors. They carry banners, symbols of their craft, and sometimes even dramatic props. The carpenters build moving stages. The weavers create beautiful cloth to decorate streets. The goldsmiths polish gleaming ornaments for processions. The fishmongers, always enthusiastic, bring displays that make children laugh and adults shake their heads fondly. These festivals are not minor events. They are moments when the entire city gathers to honor tradition, unity, and skilled hands. The guilds create a sense of belonging that no other institution can match. Guilds and civic government. By the mid-15th century, the guilds begin to influence politics. Guild leaders sit on London's governing bodies. They advise the mayor. They organize defenses in times of threat. They negotiate with the crown when taxes rise. They even shape laws that affect the city's trade and daily business. In many ways, London becomes a city run by workers rather than nobles. Men who understand trade, craft, and community hold real power. This helps London remain stable even when the kingdom beyond its walls trembles with unrest, and soon unrest will arrive. The growing pride of a city. Guilds do more than regulate labor. They create identity. A goldsmith does not just make ornaments. He belongs to a lineage of craftsmen stretching back centuries. A brewer does not simply prepare ale. She preserves a tradition vital to London's life. A carpenter does not just cut wood. He shapes the buildings, stalls, and bridges that give the city its form. Londoners introduce themselves by trade, not status. They speak with pride about their guilds. They wear symbols of their craft during certain festivals. They keep tools as carefully as soldiers keep weapons. This pride gives London a character unlike any other city in England. It is a place defined by work, skill, and the unity of ordinary people. Daily life inside a workshop. Let us step into a craftsman's workshop. The smell of wood shavings, the sound of metal tools, the warmth of the hearth, the hum of concentration. A master shapes a chair leg with smooth, practiced motions. Two journeymen polish finished pieces. An apprentice dips a brush into oil and covers the wood carefully, trying not to spill a drop. This rhythm of work is gentle, steady, and meaningful. It is the heartbeat of the 15th century. While kings fight battles and nobles quarrel over titles, these workshops continue to build the world around them. The quiet legacy of the guilds. By 1450, the guilds represent not only economic life but cultural identity. They sponsor churches, they support widows and orphans, they maintain bridges and roads, they regulate apprenticeships, they build schools for poor children. They preserve fairness in a world where fairness is not guaranteed. London becomes a city that trusts in its own hands, a city fortified not only by stone walls, but by the solidarity of its people. And this unity will soon be tested as the kingdom moves closer to a civil conflict that will shake every corner of England. For now, London remains steady, grounded, proud, a place where work is sacred and community is strong. Ending the chapter. As you breathe slowly and let your thoughts settle, imagine the glow of candlelit guild halls across medieval London. Soft light spills through windows. Craftsmen gather to talk, plan, celebrate, and teach. This is the city's soul, not the palace, not the fortress, but the workshop, the market, the guild hall, the hands that shape wood, metal, fabric, grain, and stone. Chapter 5. The Reign of Henry IV and Political Tension. Settle your breath, my friend. Let the calm of the night wrap gently around you. Tonight we walk into the political world of early 15th century England, a world where London listens carefully, waits cautiously, and watches every movement on the throne. It is the beginning of the reign of Henry IV, a king who did not inherit his crown in the peaceful way tradition preferred. He took it from Richard II. And while the city accepted him, the kingdom beyond the walls carried deep uncertainty. Let us step slowly and quietly into this moment in history. A crown gained without ceremony. When Henry IV claimed the throne in 1399, he began his reign with a heavy burden. He was not the boy raised to be king. He was the man who seized the crown because he believed the realm needed stability. London supported him. Merchants and guilds respected his decisive nature. But loyalty built on caution is different from loyalty built on tradition. People whispered in doorways. They spoke low in taverns. They wondered what it meant for England to have a king who took power instead of receiving it from the line of succession. Henry understood these whispers. He governed with a careful hand. London watches with measured hope. London in the year 1400 is hopeful but watchful. The city has suffered enough turmoil to know that kings can be unpredictable. Yet there is something steadying about Henry IV. He understands the importance of order. He respects the value of trade. He tries to keep peace between quarreling nobles. He recognizes that London is the beating heart of the kingdom's economy. Merchants appreciate this, guild masters appreciate this, and the city begins to adjust to this new era with a sense of cautious optimism. Still, tension hangs like a thin fog. Everyone waits to see what kind of king Henry will become. The threats from within. Henry IV faces challenges that would have broken a weaker king. Rebellions rise in the north. Powerful families question his right to rule. Plots form behind heavy doors. Messages travel in secret. Alliances shift in ways that make the air feel heavy with uncertainty. London feels these tremors, even though many are far away. Merchants hear news from travelers. Taverns fill with rumors. Guild halls host discussions about politics and safety. Families wonder whether the roads will remain open for trade. The city does not panic, but it listens very closely. The streets reflect the mood. Imagine walking through London during these years of political tension. At first glance, life seems normal. Markets bustle. Workshops ring with tools. Children chatter as they run errands between houses. But look closely, and you see unease woven into the details. A group of men speaking in hushed voices outside a church. A messenger riding hard across London Bridge. Guild leaders gathering for an emergency meeting. Merchants checking the skies as though looking for a sign. The city moves forward, but everyone keeps one ear open for news. The king's presence in the capital. Henry IV does not spend all his time in London, but when he does, the city feels it. Royal processions move through Cheapside with bright banners and armored guards. People gather in dense crowds, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the king. Some cheer, some remain silent. Some raise their children onto their shoulders so that they can see the man whose decisions shape their futures. Henry presents himself as a king of strength and justice. He wants the city to trust him. He wants to be seen as a man who restores balance rather than disrupts it. These displays work for many Londoners. For others, doubts remain in quiet corners of the mind. The burden of illness. As the years pass, Henry IV begins to suffer from recurring illness. His strength falters. His face grows pale. He tires easily. Whispers return. People wonder if the kingdom can remain steady when the king himself struggles with health. In the privacy of their homes, families murmur prayers for stability. In taverns, men lean across tables and speak quietly about succession. On the riverbanks, workers wonder what will come next. Illness in a king creates ripples that reach even the smallest houses. London's strength in spite of uncertainty. Despite the political strain, London continues to grow. Trade expands. Markets stay lively. Guilds maintain discipline. Churches remain busy with baptisms, marriages, and burials. Life continues with a determination born from the lessons of the last century. The city has learned that kings can come and go. Storms rise and fall, but the daily work of London never stops. A stonemason keeps carving stone. A baker keeps shaping dough. A carpenter keeps smoothing wood. A cloth merchant keeps weighing bolts of imported fabric. These quiet rhythms become London's anchor in a time of instability. A city that stands on its own. By the later years of Henry IV's reign, London has grown more confident in its own identity. The guilds are powerful. Trade networks are expanding. Merchants are rising in influence. The city knows that its prosperity is built not on royal whims, but on the strength of its workers. London respects the king, but it does not depend entirely on him. This independence will serve the city well, because the 15th century still hides storms of its own, storms of crowns, betrayals, and roses that will sweep across England and touch every corner of the capital. Ending the chapter. As you breathe deeply and let your body relax, imagine London settling under a soft night sky. Candles flicker behind windows. Taverns empty slowly. Merchants close shutters for the night. The Thames rolls gently in the dark. Above it all, the city holds its breath, waiting for the next chapter of its story. Political tension may surround the throne, but London remains steady. It remains hopeful. It remains strong. Rest now, traveler. The next chapter will bring another king, one who will lead England into battles that echo through every street of the capital. Chapter 6. Henry V and the Glory of Agincourt. Settle back into your pillow, my friend. Let the rhythm of your breath fall into calm, gentle waves. Tonight we walk into one of the brightest and most celebrated chapters of 15th century England, a moment when London lifted its head with pride and felt the thrill of hope. This is the time of Henry V, a young king, a determined ruler, a leader whose name would echo through the streets of London like a song of triumph. Let us step softly into the world shaped by his rise. A young king with unusual focus. Henry V becomes king in 1413. He is young, but not inexperienced. As a prince, he fought rebellions, commanded armies, and carried scars, both visible and unseen. London watches him with careful interest. He is not like his father. Where Henry IV struggled with illness and unrest, Henry V carries himself with a steady gaze and clear purpose. He seems made for leadership. His presence in London has a quiet intensity that people notice immediately. Priests admire his devotion. Merchants admire his discipline. Guilds admire his fairness. Soldiers admire his courage. London senses that the kingdom may be entering a moment of rare stability. London before the campaign. In the early years of Henry V's rule, the city feels a new energy. Markets thrive, guild halls are busy, churches ring with renewed optimism. The Thames is crowded with ships carrying wool, wine, cloth, and supplies. Yet beneath this activity lies a quiet expectation. Henry V is preparing for something large, something bold. He believes that English claims to French lands must be pressed. He believes war is necessary to secure peace, and he believes he can win. London, familiar with the weight of war from past generations, listens carefully. But the people trust Henry in a way they have not trusted a king in decades. When he calls for supplies, London answers. When he requests ships, London provides. When he gathers an army, London watches with a strange mixture of fear and pride. The city does not yet know what awaits on the fields of France, but it knows its king is ready. The departure. On a quiet morning in 1415, Henry V departs London with his army. Crowds fill the streets to watch him pass. Women wave kerchiefs. Children sit on their parents' shoulders. Merchants close their shutters to stand together at doorways. Priests raise their hands in blessing. Henry rides with calm composure. He acknowledges the crowds with a steady nod. His soldiers march behind him in tight formation, carrying longbows, swords, shields, and hope. The cheers that follow him echo across the Thames. London feels united in a way that only great moments can create. News travels slowly. Weeks pass. Then months. London waits. Messages from France arrive only occasionally. A ship with torn sails slips into the river. A tired messenger arrives at the city gates. A letter is delivered to the guild hall. Each piece of news travels through the city like a gust of wind. Henry V has landed safely. He has besieged Harfleur. The siege is long. Disease spreads in the army. Some men do not survive. London prays. Henry prepares to march. The French gather a massive force. The English are outnumbered. London holds its breath. Agincourt. On the 25th day of October in the year 1415, Henry V leads his army into battle near the village of Agincourt. London is hundreds of miles away, but the fear is close, the hope is close. The fate of the kingdom feels close. No one in London sees the battle, but they hear the stories afterward. Stories carried by letters, by travelers, by breathless messengers, arriving at the city gates with mud still on their boots. Henry arranged his archers skillfully. Rain turned the field into heavy mud. French knights struggled. English arrows flew in great waves. The outnumbered English held firm, and against all odds, the victory was overwhelming. Agincourt is won. Henry V stands triumphant. The celebration in London. When the news reaches London, the city erupts into joy that feels like sunlight after a long winter. Bells ring from every church tower. Shutters fly open along Cheapside. Merchants embrace each other in the street. Children dance in excitement. Ale flows freely in taverns. Guilds gather for impromptu feasts. Priests lead prayers of thanksgiving. A victory of this scale is rare. A victory of this kind, even rarer. It feels as though the entire city breathes at once, as though London itself has exhaled a great sigh of relief and triumph. For a moment, all divisions fall away. Rich and poor, guildmaster and apprentice, merchant and laborer, all stand together in pride. Agincourt belongs to England, but it also belongs to London. Henry's triumphant return. When Henry V returns to the capital, the procession is unlike anything the city has seen in generations. People line the streets in endless rows. Flowers cascade from windows. Crosses, banners, and tapestries hang from every building. Choirs sing from church steps. Guild members march with their finest clothing and banners. Henry rides slowly so that everyone can see him. There is no boasting in his face, only calm, steady dignity. He bows his head to the people. He thanks them. He prays with them. London has never felt so united, so full of pride, so full of hope. In taverns that night, men tell their sons that they witnessed the greatest king of their lifetime. In homes across the city, families speak Henry's name with admiration. A single victory has lifted the spirit of an entire kingdom. The legacy of the moment, Agincourt does not end all conflict. It does not erase future troubles, but it becomes a light carried through the rest of the century. For London, it is a memory that softens difficult days, a reminder of courage, a reminder of unity, a reminder that even in uncertain times, great leadership can rise. Henry V gives London more than victory. He gives it a moment of shared identity, a memory that will echo through halls and homes long after his reign ends. Ending the chapter. Rest now, traveler. Imagine the city settling into the gentle peace that follows great celebration. Lanterns flicker in windows. Boats drift quietly on the river. The smell of warm bread still hangs in the air. Children fall asleep dreaming of archers and banners. London sleeps with pride tonight. And in the quiet, the next chapter of history waits patiently. Chapter 7. Henry VI. Decline, weakness, and anxiety in the city. Settle into your blanket, my friend. Let the breath rise gently in your chest and fall just as softly. Tonight we drift into one of the most fragile and uneasy chapters in the story of 15th century London. A chapter marked not by triumph or glory, but by uncertainty, quiet fear, and a king whose gentle nature could not withstand the storms gathering around him. This is the era of Henry VI, a king who entered the world as a child, a king raised among advisors and power seekers, a king who wished for peace but lived in a time that demanded strength. Let us walk softly into this world where London watches the crown with anxious eyes. A child king in a difficult age. Henry VI becomes king in 1422 when he is still a baby. He succeeds Henry V, the hero of Agincourt. The contrast is immediate and profound. London mourns the loss of Henry V with heavy hearts. His memory glows like a lantern that refuses to fade. The idea that the kingdom will now be led by a small, quiet child feels almost surreal. For years, the throne is ruled by councils and protectors. Power moves between noble families like a piece on a chessboard. London can do nothing but observe. The uncertainty spreads slowly at first, like a faint shadow across the river. A gentle king in a hard world. As Henry VI grows, it becomes clear that he is different from previous kings. He is thoughtful, quiet, deeply pious, and uncomfortable with conflict. He prefers study to strategy, prayer to politics, peace to war. London admires his gentleness but grows uneasy about his weaknesses. A king who dislikes confrontation is admirable as a person but challenging as a ruler, especially in a century where ambition burns brightly in the hearts of powerful nobles, especially when France, stirred by its own rising spirit, begins to reclaim land once held by England. Henry's idealism cannot steady the throne. London senses the pressure building. The loss of English lands in France. During Henry VI's reign, English fortunes in France begin to crumble. The triumphs of Henry V slowly dissolve. Castles fall, towns surrender. Armies return home weary and disillusioned. Merchants in London hear the news first from sailors returning to the Thames. Guildmasters hear it from travelers arriving at inns near London Bridge. Priests hear it in letters carried by weary messengers. Each loss chips away at the glory that once defined the kingdom. London does not panic, but the city grows quieter. People gather in small clusters at markets, whispering news and wondering what the future holds. The pride of Agincourt still glimmers in memory, but it cannot stop the tide that is turning. A city living between rumors. Imagine walking through London around the year 1440. The markets are still lively. The workshops still ring with tools. The river still bustles with ships from overseas. But beneath these familiar sounds runs a different kind of current. People speak more carefully. Taverns hum with nervous discussion. Men lean in close when talking about politics, lowering their voices so that only trusted ears can hear. Rumors swirl everywhere. This family supports one noble house. That guildmaster leans toward another. Plots are whispered. Letters travel mysteriously in the night. The city is alive but restless. The calm of earlier years feels fragile, like glass that could crack under too much pressure. The king's mental collapse. Then comes the moment that shakes the kingdom. In 1453, Henry VI suffers a mental breakdown. He falls into a state where he cannot speak, cannot respond, cannot rule. London hears the news and feels the air grow heavy. The image of a strong king has already faded, but this new reality is frightening. A silent king is a vulnerable kingdom, and vulnerability attracts ambition. Noble families sense opportunity. The House of York and the House of Lancaster begin to circle each other quietly, like wolves testing the edge of a forest. London stands at the center of this growing tension. The rise of rival powers. With the king unable to act, powerful nobles step forward to claim influence. The Duke of York becomes protector of the realm. Lancastrian loyalists fight to regain control. Factions form. Guild leaders in London choose sides carefully, aware that choosing too boldly could bring danger. Merchants calculate which alliance will secure trade. Citizens worry that turmoil at the top will spill into the streets. The city feels as though it is holding its breath. It has seen instability before, but this time the threat feels closer, more personally tied to the fate of London's own markets and families. The streets reflect the storm. Imagine London at sunset during this tense period. Shutters are closed earlier. Taverns glow with muted light rather than loud celebration. Conversations turn serious, hushed, cautious. The city watches noble entourages enter and leave its gates. Armored men travel the roads in increasing numbers. Messengers move with urgency. City guards stay more alert. The guilds meet more frequently. Their discussions shift from trade to safety. Where should grain be stored? Which gates should be reinforced? How to protect apprentices if unrest breaks out? The city feels the tremors long before the earthquake arrives. London's loyalty is tested. Henry VI briefly recovers, then falls ill again. Power shifts back and forth so frequently that Londoners struggle to keep track of who controls the kingdom. The crown feels unstable. The kingdom feels divided. Fear spreads quietly into homes and workshops. But London stands firm. It remembers famine. It remembers plague. It remembers rebellion. It remembers surviving every storm of the previous century. The city trusts its own resilience more than the throne itself.
The king is dead. I heard it from the stable master.
The dawn before the war. As the 1450s draw to a close, the signs of conflict become impossible to ignore. Two noble houses, York and Lancaster, stand ready. Their supporters gather, their banners rise, their followers sharpen weapons. London knows that war is coming. But tonight, in this quiet moment, imagine the city under a soft sky. Candles glow in windows. The river reflects moonlight. Merchants count coins by flickering firelight. Families pray for stability. The guilds hold the city together with steady hands. London is anxious, but it is not broken. It is ready, though it does not want to be. The great conflict of roses approaches. Ending the chapter. Breathe slowly, traveler. Let the tension of the story drift away from your mind. The soft rhythm of the river replaces the sharp whispers of royal politics. London sleeps tonight with unease in its heart, but strength in its bones. And soon the storm that has been gathering in silence will break open across the kingdom. Chapter 8. The Rise of the Merchants. London's middle class strengthens. Settle your breath, my friend. Let the softness of the night wrap around you like a warm cloak. Tonight we step back into London, now in the middle of the 15th century, where a quiet transformation is taking place. While kings stumble through uncertainty and noble houses prepare for conflict, another group is rising with calm determination. Not warriors, not lords, but merchants, craftsmen, guild masters, men and women whose strength does not lie in swords, but in skill, trade, and resilience. Walk with me now into this world, where London begins to discover a new identity. An identity shaped by those who build, buy, sell, plan, and dream. A city turning toward opportunity. In the years after Henry VI's initial decline, London feels unstable, yet strangely full of possibility. The nobility may quarrel, the crown may waver, but the city itself is thriving in its own quiet way. Cheapside is busier than ever. The Thames is crowded with ships from distant ports. Guild meetings grow larger. Workshops glow with late evening candlelight. Merchants sense that the future belongs not only to noble bloodlines, but to those who understand how to manage money, organize trade routes, and build networks that stretch far beyond the city walls. A subtle shift begins. Power is no longer measured only by titles. It is increasingly measured by wealth, influence, and the trust of the community. The expanding web of trade. Imagine standing on London Bridge at midday, around the year 1450. The river below you is a living map of trade. Ships from Lubeck unload timber, vessels from the Low Countries bring fine cloth. Italian merchants negotiate for English wool. Great barrels of wine from Gascony roll across the wharves with booming thuds. The air smells of salt, oak, spices, and river mist. The sounds of sailors calling orders blend with the clatter of wagons moving goods into the city. Trade grows not in a burst, but like a tide that slowly rises and never retreats. London is no longer simply a town of craftsmen. It is becoming an international marketplace. The merchant houses of the city. Let us step into one of the merchant homes rising along the wider streets near the river. The house is sturdier and larger than the simple timber dwellings of earlier centuries. Stone on the lower floor, timber on the upper. Windows glazed with glass instead of horn. A carved sign above the door indicating the trade. Inside, the rooms smell of beeswax, wool, and imported spices. A long table holds ledgers, carefully written by a trained hand. A chest in the corner contains bolts of silk or packets of pepper or rolls of dyed cloth. The merchant who lives here is not a noble, yet his influence reaches far. He negotiates with traders in Flanders. He knows the names of shipmasters in Calais. He attends guild councils. He supports church repairs. He lends money to neighbors in need. And sometimes discreetly, he lends money to nobles who have more pride than coin. His world is wide, and it grows every year. The strength of guild authority. As merchants rise, so do the guilds. Guilds are no longer merely associations of craftsmen. They are political actors, and they advise city officials. They shape regulations on trade. They contribute to public building projects. They send representatives to negotiate with the crown. Inside the guild halls, influence flows through conversation, like wine through a cup. Decisions about weights and measures, rules for apprenticeships, pricing for goods, plans for supporting widows, orphans, and the poor, even discussions about safety during political unrest. The guilds hold London together when the country beyond its walls begins to fracture. A growing middle class. By the middle of the century, London is home to a population that did not exist in the same form 100 years earlier. This new middle class is composed of traders who own several ships, cloth merchants who control valuable exports, brewers and vintners whose products travel far, goldsmiths trusted with wealth, scribes who understand law and finance, professionals such as lawyers, surgeons, and notaries, educated clerks who work for the city government. These people do not carry swords or family crests. They carry ledgers, tools, and skills. Their influence comes not from bloodlines, but from talent, not from land, but from intelligence and discipline. This shift begins to change the spirit of London. Education and literacy on the rise. One of the most surprising changes of the 15th century is the quiet spread of literacy. Children of merchants learn to read and write so that they can keep accounts and manage correspondence. Schools run by guilds and churches expand. Scribes copy more manuscripts. People become interested in chronicles, maps, books of hours, and even poetry. A city that reads is a city that thinks, and a city that thinks is a city that grows in new directions. London begins to feel intellectually alive. Ideas from Europe slip into the city through traders and scholars. People discuss them in taverns, workshops, and behind the closed doors of guild halls. It is the earliest hint of what will later be called the Renaissance. The mood of the city before the storm. By the early 1450s, London stands strong economically, confident in its merchants, and increasingly comfortable with its identity as a commercial capital. But the sky darkens around the edges. The middle class does not ignore the political storm brewing. They hear the tensions. They feel the uncertainty. But they remain focused on work and family. A cloth merchant may speak quietly of the Duke of York. A grocer may express loyalty to the House of Lancaster. A goldsmith may hide his opinion to avoid trouble. The city is divided in its opinions, but united in its desire for stability London knows that the coming conflict will not spare it. Yet it also knows that its strength lies in trade, resilience, and community, not in crowns or battlefields. A city with a new kind of power. As the influence of the middle class grows, London begins to command a kind of authority that reaches far beyond its walls. Kings need its money. Nobles need its supplies. Armies need its weapons and clothing. Cities across Europe recognize London as a vital hub of commerce. The crown may be uncertain, but London is not. It knows its worth. It knows its voice matters. And as the tensions between Lancaster and York rise toward open conflict, London is about to discover that its support can shape the fate of kings. Ending the chapter, breathe gently now. Let the image of a thriving, confident city settle in your mind. Imagine lanterns glowing in merchant houses, guild halls filled with quiet planning, and the river whispering beneath the moonlight. London stands strong at the edge of a civil war it did not choose. Its merchants, craftsmen, and guilds will play a powerful role in the chapters ahead. Rest well, traveler. The Wars of the Roses are about to begin, and London will feel every shift in the wind. Chapter 9. Wars of the Roses. London in the Crossfire. Breathe slowly, my friend. Feel the weight of the blanket, the softness of the pillow, and the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat. Tonight we enter one of the most turbulent moments in England's history, a time when the crown itself seems to tremble, and London stands at the heart of every whisper, every rumor, and every shifting alliance. This is the era known as the Wars of the Roses, a struggle between two great houses, Lancaster with its red rose, York with its white, a conflict that spreads through the kingdom like a storm moving across fields and forests. London watches all of it with wary eyes. For though battles rage far from the city walls, the consequences of every victory and defeat flow straight to the capital. Let us walk slowly into this world, shaken by uncertainty. A kingdom fractured. The seeds of this war have already been planted during the troubled reign of Henry VI. His illness, his advisors, the losses in France, the ambitions of the Duke of York, the fears of the Lancastrian court. By the late 1450s, the kingdom divides itself into two visions of the future. Some families believe Lancaster must hold the crown. Others believe the House of York has the rightful claim. London feels this tension long before the first sword is drawn. Merchants speak softly of the matter over cups of ale. Guilds debate carefully, knowing that taking sides too early could be dangerous. Common people listen and wonder which direction history will move. The city holds its breath. The first battles and London's unease. In 1455, the first major battle takes place at St. Albans, not far from the capital. When news reaches London, it spreads through the streets with the speed of a river current. Henry VI has been captured. Richard, Duke of York, stands stronger than ever. Nobles have fallen. Blood has been spilled for the crown. London reacts with caution rather than panic. The city has learned from past centuries that outward calm is sometimes the only protection during uncertain times. But beneath the calm lies fear. Children hear adults whispering in corners. Merchants revise contracts to protect themselves if the wrong side wins. Guild leaders attend more meetings, speaking in low voices about safety, trade, and the risk of being caught between rival armies. The war is still far from the city walls, yet its shadow grows longer every day. A city choosing sides carefully. Unlike small villages that rely on noble protection, London holds real influence. Both Lancaster and York need the city. They need its money, they need its supplies, they need its symbolic support. London's decision can tilt the balance of power. And so London chooses slowly, cautiously, observing each shift in the conflict. Some guilds lean toward Lancaster out of tradition. Others prefer York because they trust its leaders more. Some merchants remain neutral, believing that success in trade depends on stability rather than loyalty to any rose. The city becomes a tapestry of opinions, woven tightly together, none daring to tear itself apart. Edward, the young hope of the Yorkists. By 1460, the conflict intensifies. Richard, Duke of York, makes a bold claim to the throne. But his death soon after leaves the Yorkist cause in the hands of his tall, charismatic, battle-tested son, Edward. London is drawn to Edward in a way it never was to other nobles. He is confident. He is brave. He speaks plainly. He promises stability. He respects the guilds and the merchants. He understands the power of the city. So when Edward arrives at the gates of London in 1461, seeking recognition as king, something remarkable happens. The city opens its gates. Crowds gather to see him. Guild banners flutter above Cheapside. People cheer, sensing that this young leader may offer the peace they desperately crave. London declares for the White Rose. And soon after, Edward becomes King Edward IV. The shift in power and the city's relief. Under Edward IV, London breathes again. The new king is strong, organized, and determined to restore order. He pays debts. He rewards the city for its loyalty. He strengthens trade. He curbs disorder. The markets become lively with confidence. Merchants feel safer. Guilds strengthen their positions. London enjoys years of relative calm, but the war is not truly over. Lancastrian forces still fight. And Henry VI still breathes somewhere in England. The shadow remains, thin but present. The Lancastrian resurgence. In 1470, the impossible happens. Edward IV is driven from the throne. Henry VI is restored. London is stunned. News arrives like a cold wind, spiraling through the streets. People whisper anxiously. Merchants hide their wealth. Guilds prepare for rapid shifts in policy. Soldiers move through the gates. Nobles forge new alliances in desperate secrecy. The city had placed its trust in Edward IV. His exile leaves London vulnerable and uncertain once again. This reversal feels like a wave crashing backward, pulling the sand from beneath the city's feet. Edward's triumphant return. But the tide turns once more. In 1471, Edward IV returns to England with determination burning bright in his eyes. London waits in suspense. And when he approaches the city, London again opens its gates. The people remember his leadership. They remember his promises. They remember how safe the streets felt under his rule. Edward enters London triumphantly. Bells ring, crowds gather, guild banners rise. The city embraces him with renewed loyalty. The battles that follow are fierce, but they take place away from London. When they end, Edward IV stands secure as king, and Henry VI's chapter closes forever. London after the storms. The final years of the conflict pass more quietly. Edward IV rules firmly. Trade flourishes, guilds prosper, homes feel safer, but the city does not forget the years of uncertainty. The Wars of the Roses have taught London a difficult lesson. Kings can fall, crowns can change heads, battles can reshape the kingdom overnight. London's survival depends not on royal favor, but on unity, trade, discipline, and the quiet strength of its people. Ending the chapter. Breathe deeply now. Let the echoes of conflict fade in your imagination. Imagine London at dusk, after years of turmoil. Candles glow behind shuttered windows. Merchants count coins by the fire. Guilds lock their halls for the night. The river flows quietly under a sky washed clean of storm clouds. The roses have clashed. The crown has shifted, but London endures. Rest now, traveler. There is peace ahead, but also new challenges. The next chapter brings the calm and rebuilding of Edward IV's reign. Chapter 10. Edward IV and the Return of Stability. Settle into your pillow, my friend. Let your breath soften. The storms of the Wars of the Roses have passed, at least for now, and tonight we walk into one of the calmest stretches of the 15th century. A time when London, weary from years of shifting loyalties and anxious whispers, finally finds room to breathe. This is the era of Edward IV restored. A king who steps back onto the throne with steadier hands, firmer purpose, and a desire to bring peace to a kingdom that has seen too much blood. Let us walk quietly into this moment of renewal. A king reborn. When Edward IV returns to London in 1471, his face reflects both exhaustion and determination. He knows what war costs. He knows how easily a crown can be lost. And he knows that England needs more than triumph. It needs healing. London welcomes him with open gates and open hearts. The cheers are not merely political. They carry relief. They carry gratitude. They carry the hope that the worst has passed. Edward senses this. His second reign begins not with vengeance, but with careful rebuilding. A city exhales. London has lived through years of tension, markets disrupted, trade threatened, families divided in their loyalties, guilds forced to navigate shifting political winds, fear woven into everyday life like threads in a tapestry. But now suddenly, the city feels lighter. Shutters open earlier in the morning. Taverns buzz with friendly conversation instead of fearful murmurs. Ships once again crowd the river without hesitation. Children run through the lanes with laughter rather than caution. It is as if London itself exhales after holding its breath for far too long. Rebuilding trust and trade. Under Edward IV's renewed rule, commerce grows rapidly. He understands the importance of wealth and stability, not only for nobles, but for merchants, guilds, and workers. The riverfront becomes busier. Ships from the Low Countries arrive in long, steady lines. Italian traders return with silk, spices, and glass. English wool exports boom once more. The city feels a pulse of prosperity that had dimmed during the years of conflict. Guilds hold larger meetings. Markets expand their stalls. New warehouses appear along the wharves. Money flows through the city with renewed confidence. It is not the wild, hungry activity of a boom, but the steady rhythm of a city rebuilding itself. A more elegant London. Edward IV brings something new to the capital, a sense of style. He has traveled, observed, and learned from continental courts. He has seen the beginnings of Renaissance taste in Burgundy and the Low Countries. And he brings these ideas home. Londoners, always quick to adapt, follow his lead. Clothing becomes richer in color, fabrics become more refined. Nobles commission portraits and elaborate tapestries. Houses display small decorative items made of fine metal or glass. Even the guilds, usually practical, invest in more elaborate symbols and banners. There is a quiet elegance spreading through the city, a sign that life is not merely surviving, but beginning to flourish. The strengthening of law and order. One of Edward's greatest achievements is the restoration of law. After years of factional conflict, ordinary people crave predictability. Courts operate more smoothly. Disputes are settled fairly. Officials act with greater clarity. The streets feel safer. Londoners finally feel able to focus on work, family, and daily life without fearing sudden upheaval. This stability strengthens the bond between the city and the crown. Edward knows London's value. He depends on it for funds. He respects its guilds. He seeks its approval when making major decisions. London, in return, honors him with loyalty. A city of celebrations. Peacetime brings something London has missed: joy. Feast days grow larger. Guild festivals become more colorful. Processions wind through the streets with banners, music, and bright clothing. Taverns overflow with songs and stories. The city embraces the chance to celebrate after so many years of restraint. Imagine an evening around 1475. Lantern light drifts through the lanes. Laughter fills the taverns near Eastcheap. Minstrels play soft melodies. Merchants share wine imported from Bordeaux. The scent of roasted meat floats from open doorways. It feels like a London reborn. The flourishing of learning. As stability returns, education grows. Books no longer seem like luxuries. More children of merchants learn to read and write. Clerks become skilled record keepers. Church schools expand their instruction. Letters travel more frequently across the kingdom and across Europe. A quiet intellectual awakening begins. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden, but steady and real. People discuss chronicle histories, poetry, and new ideas from continental scholars. Copyists produce manuscripts with greater speed. Travelers bring stories of artistic changes in Italy, France, and the Low Countries. London, still medieval in many ways, begins to peak gently toward the future. Edward's second reign and its peace. Edward IV rules with confidence during his restored reign. He rewards loyalty. He manages disputes with skill. He maintains peace with neighboring countries. He keeps nobles in check. He protects the city that protected him. The years that follow are some of the most stable in the entire 15th century. London grows stronger. Homes grow wealthier. Guilds expand their influence. Markets reach new heights. Churches feel full again. Families experience a generation of calm, unknown to their parents. For a moment, it feels as though the worst is finally behind them. Shadows on the horizon. Yet even in this time of calm, small worries linger. Edward's court contains rivalries. Some nobles resent his power. Others envy his wealth. Questions echo quietly through the city. Who will succeed the king? Will stability last? What will happen when Edward is gone? London senses that peace, while real, is delicate, like a candle that burns brightly but can be extinguished by a sudden breath. But the city has learned not to dwell too deeply on distant fears. It has work to do, families to feed, trade to conduct, festivals to celebrate. For now, stability reigns, and London embraces it fully. Ending the chapter. Rest now, traveler. Imagine London drifting into a peaceful night. Candles glow warmly in windows. The river hums quietly under the moon. Merchants close their shutters with contentment. Guild halls fall silent after long days of discussion and celebration. For the first time in many years, the city sleeps without fear. But history does not remain still for long. Edward IV's peace will not last forever. New struggles will arise, and the crown will once again tremble. For now, breathe gently. The night is calm, and London rests in the glow of hard-earned stability. Chapter 11. The King's Death and London's Uncertain Dawn. Settle deeper into your blanket, my friend. Let your breath grow long and quiet. Tonight, London enters another moment of transition, a moment that arrives softly but strikes with the weight of destiny. Edward IV, the king who brought stability after years of conflict, is about to leave the stage. And with his departure, the city finds itself standing once again at the edge of uncertainty. Let us walk gently into this turning point. The final days of a strong king. By the late 1470s and early 1480s, Edward IV seems secure. He is confident, wealthy, respected, and physically imposing. London has grown accustomed to seeing him ride through the city with the assurance of a ruler who understands power. But even kings are mortal. Illness creeps upon Edward quietly. Whispers begin among his closest servants. Physicians come and go with worried expressions. The court watches nervously. And London, though unaware of every detail, senses the tightening of political air. In the spring of 1483, Edward IV dies suddenly. The news moves through London like a cold wind spreading through the narrow lanes. People pause in their work. Merchants whisper in their stalls. Priests pray before the altars. Guild leaders gather in hurried meetings. The king who restored peace is gone, and with him the stability he worked so hard to build begins to tremble. The child who would be king. Edward IV leaves behind a kingdom and a legacy, but also something fragile. His heir, the young Edward, is only 12 years old, too young to rule on his own, too inexperienced to manage factions, too vulnerable for a world where power is hunted like a prize. London receives this news with mixed emotions: pride in the boy's lineage, fear over his age, questions about who will rule until he matures. The city has lived through chaos before and does not crave more. Shopkeepers hope for continuity. Merchants hope for stability. Commoners hope for peace. But the path ahead is not clear. Two men stand poised to shape the kingdom's future. One is Lord Hastings, loyal to the House of York. The other is Richard, Duke of Gloucester, the late king's brother. London watches closely. Events begin to shift quickly, like shadows flickering on stone walls. The journey to London. Young Edward is living in Ludlow when his father dies. A royal escort brings him toward London to take the crown. Londoners prepare to welcome their child king with ceremony and affection. But the journey changes course. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, intercepts the procession. He speaks of danger. He speaks of conspiracies against the young king. He insists that he, as uncle, must protect him. London hears these reports with unease. Some believe Richard acts out of loyalty. Others sense ambition beneath his concern. The boy continues toward the capital under Richard's guidance, but something feels altered. The welcome is no longer a celebration. It is a question. The princes enter the Tower. When young Edward arrives in London, he does not go to Westminster to prepare for his coronation. Instead, he is brought to the Tower of London, and this is not unusual. Traditionally, kings often stay in the Tower before their coronation. Yet London senses something different. The air feels heavier. The tower seems too quiet. Edward's younger brother, Richard of Shrewsbury, soon joins him. 2 princes, 2 heirs, 2 children lodged in a fortress that has always symbolized power and fear. Londoners whisper in the markets, is this temporary? Is this ceremony? Or is something darker unfolding? No one knows. But the silence surrounding the tower begins to feel unsettling. A city of whispers. As the days pass, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, tightens his grip on the government. Advisors loyal to the young king are arrested. Some are executed. Parliament is persuaded to reconsider claims about the legitimacy of Edward IV's marriage. Rumors ripple through every alley. Merchants speak in hushed tones behind their stalls. Guild members exchange nervous looks during meetings. Tavern patrons lean close, lowering their voices. What will become of the princes? Will they ever leave the tower? Will Richard place the crown upon the boy's head or upon his own? The city waits, and the waiting becomes anxiety. Richard III takes the crown. In June 1483, news spreads like wildfire. Parliament has declared young Edward and his brother illegitimate. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, is proclaimed the rightful king. London stands still for a moment, caught between disbelief and resignation. Some accept Richard III with cautious hope. They believe he will protect the kingdom and enforce strong rule. Others feel a quiet dread settling into their bones. What of the princes? Why are they still in the tower? Why have they not been seen in public? Why are the windows of their chambers kept closed? The questions multiply. Answers never arrive. The shadow over the tower. As summer progresses, the princes are seen less and less. Their laughter disappears from the courtyard. No servants come or go on their behalf. The stones seem to hold secrets within their cold walls. London begins to fear the worst. People do not speak openly. To question the king is dangerous, but everyone feels the shadow lengthening over the tower. Mothers draw their children closer. Fishmongers pause their calls. Priests whisper prayers for the innocent. And night after night, London dreams uneasy dreams. The fate of the princes becomes one of history's greatest mysteries. But in the moment for the people of London, it is not a legend. It is a wound. A quiet city under a troubled king. Richard III rules with authority, but he cannot erase the unease that surrounds his reign. London obeys him, yet the trust between crown and city has cracked. Markets continue. Guilds operate. Ships arrive. Life goes on. But beneath the surface, the city holds its breath once more. The memory of Edward IV's stability feels precious and distant. London senses that peace is fragile again. Like thin ice stretching across a winter pond. Somewhere in the city, a new story is already forming. One that will bring yet another change. One that will rewrite the kingdom. The story of a young man across the sea, a claim, a battle yet to come. But that is for the next chapter. Ending the chapter. Rest now, friend. Let the troubled whispers of these years drift away. Picture London at twilight. The river glimmers faintly. The bells echo softly across the rooftops. The tower stands tall and silent, both guardian and question. Edward IV has passed. His sons have vanished. Richard III sits upon the throne, and the city waits, unsure of what dawn will bring. Chapter 12. Bosworth, a new dawn and the end of an age. Settle your breath, my friend. Let the softness of your pillow cradle you. Tonight we arrive at the final crossroads of the Middle Ages in England, a moment when London stands still once more, watching history tilt toward a new beginning. The city has lived through the rise and fall of kings, through shifting loyalties, through quiet whispers in taverns and thunderous battles far beyond its walls. Now in the late summer of 1485, the air feels thick with anticipation. Something is coming, a change that will shape centuries ahead. Let us walk together into this turning point. A city waiting in suspense. Richard III rules in London, but peace sits uneasily on his shoulders. He has survived rebellions. He has navigated rumors. He has tried to stabilize the realm, yet the shadow of doubt follows him everywhere. London remembers the princes. London remembers the silence of the tower. London remembers the hushed voices that never dared to speak too loudly. Whispers drift through Cheapside and across the riverfront. They speak of a challenger rising in exile, a young man whose claim is thin, but whose cause grows stronger by the day. His name is Henry Tudor, and London waits, cautious but attentive, for the next chapter of the Crown's story. Henry Tudor's Crossing. In August 1485, Henry Tudor sets sail from France with a modest army. The news travels to London in fragments, carried by messengers, rumors, and anxious imaginations. Some fear another era of bloodshed. Some hope for justice. Many simply long for stability. After decades of uncertainty, the city feels the tension like a tightening rope. Officials scan the roads for news. Guild leaders whisper about possible outcomes. Merchants reconsider investments until the future becomes clearer. Life continues, but always with one ear turned toward the north, where two armies will soon meet. The Field of Bosworth. On the 22nd of August, Henry Tudor and Richard III clash at Bosworth Field. London does not witness it, but the fate of the battle will determine the city's future. Richard charges with fierce determination, leading from the front, trusting in strength and valor. Henry advances with caution and calculation, relying on loyal captains and the hopes of those who believe he can restore peace. The battle is brutal. Swords ring, mud churns beneath thousands of feet. Shouts rise and fall like breaking waves. Then suddenly, the tide turns. Richard is surrounded. He refuses to flee. He fights to the very end. And there, on the battlefield's bloodied earth, the last king of the Plantagenet line falls. The Middle Ages breathe their final breath. The news reaches London. When word of the victory reaches the capital, it travels faster than any messenger can truly run. The story seems to fly on the wind, finding its way into every street, every shop, every small conversation. Richard is dead. Henry Tudor is king. London reacts with a complex blend of emotions. There is relief because uncertainty has ended. There is caution because a new ruler brings new expectations. There is curiosity because few know what Henry truly stands for. Above all, there is hope. Hope that the long cycle of rebellion and war might finally be broken. Hope that the city's future might grow more stable. Hope that London's growing power and influence might flourish under new leadership. Henry VII enters the capital. Henry Tudor enters London not as a conqueror, but as a promise. Crowds gather to watch him pass. The banners of the Red Rose flutter above the streets. Merchants stand in their doorways, studying the face of the new king. Children climb onto barrels to get a better look. Clergy wait at the cathedral to greet him. Henry rides through the city with quiet dignity. He does not boast. He does not flaunt victory. He carries himself with the calm of someone who understands how fragile power can be. London responds to this calm with warmth. They sense in him a new chapter, something gentler, more measured, more hopeful, a chapter that might finally heal the fractures left by decades of conflict. A new dynasty begins. Henry Tudor takes the crown as Henry VII, and with that moment, a new dynasty is born. The Tudors will rule England into the modern world. They will bring Renaissance ideas. They will reshape religious life. They will elevate London's global importance. They will turn the city into a center of culture, finance, and royal authority. But all of that lies ahead. For now, London rests in the glow of a new beginning. The long struggle between red and white roses has finally ended. The crown rests securely on a new head. The kingdom's wounds begin to heal. The Middle Ages, with their feasts and famines, their guilds and castles, their battles and plagues, begin to fade like the final notes of a long song. London at the edge of a new world. Night settles over the city. Candles glow in the windows of homes along the Thames. Merchants count coins under warm lamplight. Guild halls lock their doors after long meetings discussing the policies of the new king. The bells ring softly across the rooftops. London feels different, lighter, more hopeful, more prepared. The city stands at the threshold of transformation. Soon it will become the heart of a dynasty that will change not only England, but much of the world around it. But that is a story for another episode. Tonight we close the door gently on the medieval age. ending the chapter. Rest now, traveler. You have walked through war and triumph, through uncertainty and renewal. The roses have faded. The crown has settled. A new sun rises over England. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften. Let the gentle quiet of this moment drift through your mind like mist along the Thames. The Middle Ages are behind us. Ahead lies the dawn of the Tudor world. Closing. The last night of the Middle Ages. Settle your breath. Let the sounds of London fade gently in your mind. The episode we finished tonight marks the final twilight of the Middle Ages, a world both familiar and distant, a world where London survived, adapted, and quietly prepared for everything that came next. You have walked with me through the gray dawns of the 15th century, through muddy lanes and noisy markets, through guild halls glowing with candlelight, through worries whispered after curfew, through the rise and fall of kings whose names still echo through history. We stepped into the shoes of merchants who counted every coin with weary hope. We watched craftsmen hammer iron while thinking about the price of wool. We listened to children laughing in the shadow of ancient churches. We stood among crowds who cheered for a new king one year and feared for their future the next. The wars of the roses passed before us like a storm across the fields. Clouds gathered, thunder rolled, and the kingdom shook. Yet through every shift, through every uncertain dawn, London endured. The city held on with steady hands, guided by its guilds, its merchants, its river, and its stubborn sense of purpose. We followed Edward IV as he restored calm. We mourned his sudden passing. We felt London shiver under Richard III, and then breathe again when Henry Tudor rode through the city gates, bringing the hope of a new age. Now, as we close this episode, imagine London resting. The medieval rooftops stand silhouetted against a quiet sky. The old timber houses lean gently together, as if whispering goodnight. Lanterns glow in shop windows along Cheapside. The river winds silently through the heart of the city, carrying away the final echoes of a long and troubled century. The Middle Ages slip away like the tide withdrawing from the shore. Their textures remain in memory. The clatter of carts, the weight of wool sacks, the scent of hearth smoke, the songs of guild celebrations, the tolling of bells that once marked the hours of prayer. But ahead lies something new, a different rhythm, a different light, a London ready to grow taller, richer, louder, wiser. We stand at the doorway of the Tudor world, a world of kings and queens who will reshape belief, trade, culture, and the very identity of the city. A world filled with voyages, inventions, court intrigue, and the first threads of modern life. For now, let that doorway remain closed. Let your mind rest in the warm stillness after a long journey. The past has been kind enough to share its stories for one more night. Sleep gently, traveler. London is quiet. The century has ended, and a new morning waits for us in episode 5.